It was a cloudy morning, and the wind was playing with the fallen autumn leaves. 11-year-old Nader sat quietly in the corner of his grandfather's old library. The room smelled of dusty pages and worn wood, and the tall shelves were filled with books that had no clear titles. Most children found the place spooky, but to Nader, it was a world of wonder. As he ran his fingers across a high shelf, something caught his eye, a small dark wooden box, covered in dust, with a strange symbol carved into the lid. It looked like an open eye inside a star. Curious, he pulled it down and slowly opened it. Inside, there was a tightly rolled parchment, tied with a brittle leather strap. Nader unrolled it gently. It was an old map, drawn in fading ink and strange markings. The map showed a path leading from his grandfather's house into the forest nearby, ending at a giant gate symbol with faded words below. "The Kingdom of Seven Shadows, where nothing is what it seems." Nader felt a chill run down his spine. Something told him this map wasn't an ordinary treasure hunt. It felt alive. He rushed to his grandfather, holding the map with trembling hands. His grandfather's eyes widened when he saw it. He took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "That map, it's not meant for you, Nader. It belongs to something ancient, something dangerous." But Nader couldn't let it go. That night, while everyone was asleep, he packed a flashlight, some snacks, and the map, and quietly slipped out of the house. The forest loomed dark and still. Trees looked taller than usual, and the air was oddly cold, as if he had stepped into another world. Following the map's path, Nader came to a flat stone covered with the same iron star symbol. He placed the map on the stone, and suddenly the ground rumbled softly. A faint blue light glowed from underneath, and the stone slowly slid aside, revealing a hidden staircase leading underground. Then came a whisper, soft, echoing. "The one who finds the map cannot return until the 7 shadows are crossed." Nader paused. He clutched his backpack, took a deep breath, and stepped into the darkness. And so his journey began, into a land no one believed existed, where courage, cleverness, and a bit of luck would be his only way home. Nader's footsteps echoed as he descended the stone staircase, the light from his flashlight barely piercing the heavy darkness. The air grew colder with each step, and the walls around him shimmered slightly, as if alive with hidden energy. At the bottom of the staircase stood a massive stone gate, twice as tall as a house. Symbols like those on the map glowed faintly across its surface. In the center was a circular slot, and just above it, 7 tiny stars carved in a ring. As Nader approached, the map in his backpack began to glow with a soft golden light. He took it out and held it toward the gate. Suddenly, the gate responded. The central circle opened, revealing a space just the size of the map. Unsure, but trusting his instincts, Nader gently slid the map into the slot. A deep hum filled the chamber. The symbols on the gate flared with light, and slowly, the massive stone doors began to part. From behind them came a warm breeze, carrying the scent of pine trees, distant rivers, and something else, something magical. As Nader stepped through the gate, the world around him shifted. Gone were the cold stone walls. Instead, he found himself standing in a lush valley under a sky with 2 suns. Giant plants with leaves as big as blankets swayed in the wind. Strange birds with golden feathers soared overhead, singing melodies he'd never heard before. Nader gasped, turning slowly in wonder. "Welcome," said a voice behind him. He spun around and saw a talking cat, tall, sleek, and midnight black, with glowing green eyes and a golden collar. It bowed slightly. "I am Mira, keeper of the first realm. You crossed the gate. That means the map chose you." Nader blinked. You're a cat." Mira smirked. "A very smart one." Nader took a step back. What is this place? Mira looked up at the sky. You are now in the kingdom of 7 shadows, a land hidden from your world for centuries. Each shadow is a realm, and each realm holds a test. Pass all 7, and you may return. Fail, and remain here forever. The words echoed in his mind. Mira walked toward a stone path that curved through the valley. Your first test awaits in the Whispering Winds Valley. There, the winds speak truths and lies. To move forward, you must listen with more than your ears. Nader hesitated. Why me? I'm just a kid. Mira turned and smiled. That's exactly why. The cat began walking. Nader stood frozen for a moment, then took a deep breath and followed. Ahead of him stretched a land filled with mystery and danger, but also magic and wonder. And this was only the beginning. Nader followed Mira along the winding path. With every step, the landscape changed. The grass grew taller, the colors brighter, and the air lighter, as if the valley itself was breathing. Far ahead, Nader could see the trees bending and twisting, not from any visible wind, but as if they were listening to something unseen. Stay close, Mira warned. The whispering winds can trick the mind. As they approached the edge of the valley, Nader heard it, the sound of whispers, thousands of them. They floated through the air like the rustling of leaves, but they weren't random. They were speaking to him. You don't belong here. You'll never find your way home. They lied to you. He shook his head and stepped back. I heard something. Mira nodded. That's the wind. It speaks the truth, the half-truth, and the lie. To pass this realm, you must find the voice that tells your truth. Nader frowned. How will I know which one is mine? Only by knowing yourself, Mira said calmly, and trusting what your heart knows to be real. Before Nader could reply, the ground under his feet trembled. The valley ahead opened into a wide plain with 7 stone arches standing in a row, each glowing with soft light. Above each arch was a swirling wind, carrying a voice. Mira gestured toward the arches. Only one path leads forward. The others will trap you in illusion. Listen to each voice. Choose the one that speaks your truth. Nader stepped forward. As he listened under each arch, the winds whispered different things. You're just a child. You're too weak. You're braver than you know. Turn back now. This place is not yours. You are chosen. You always were. No one believes in you, not even your grandfather. You must prove your worth through fear. You're dreaming. Wake up! He closed his eyes. The voices circled him, louder now, trying to shake his thoughts. He remembered holding the map. He remembered the courage it took to step through the gate. And he remembered what his grandfather once said to him. True strength isn't about power. It's about choosing to go forward, even when you're afraid. His eyes flew open. He stepped under the second arch. You're braver than you know. The wind swirled around him, warm, gentle, and then blew forward, clearing the path. The other arches vanished into mist. Mira padded up beside him. Well done. Nader took a breath, his chest filled with new confidence. I knew that voice. It felt right. Mira nodded. Every realm will test a part of you. In this one, it was your heart. Next, it will be your reflection. Reflection? Nader asked, puzzled. But Mira was already walking again. Behind them, the winds faded into silence. And ahead, the trees grew thinner, opening into a shimmering lake that reflected the sky, but not quite correctly. It was time for the next challenge. The path led Nader and Mira to the edge of a strange, silent lake. Its surface was perfectly still, so still it looked like glass. But as Nader peered into the water, his reflection didn't match his movements. He blinked. His reflection smiled when he didn't. Then it tilted its head and waved. Nader jumped back. "This," said Mira quietly, "is the Lake of Mirrors. It doesn't reflect what's outside, it reflects what's hidden inside." Nader stared at the glassy surface, uneasily. "What does that mean?" Myra's tail flicked. "The next gate lies beneath the lake, but only those who face their true selves may pass." The cat pointed to the center of the lake, where a small, round platform floated just above the water. On it stood a tall mirror with a golden frame. No path led to it, only the lake. "You must walk across the water," Mira said. Nader looked at the lake nervously. "Walk? On water?" "Yes. But beware," she added. "The lake will test you with your fears, your doubts, and your secrets. You must not run. You must not fight. Just face them." With a dry swallow, Nader took a step onto the water. To his surprise, it held his weight. He took another, and another, each one sending soft ripples across the surface. Then he heard something. "You're not strong enough," said a voice beside him. He turned. There, walking beside him on the water, was himself. But this Nader looked angry, tired, and smaller somehow. "You pretend to be brave," the reflection said, "but you're scared. Always have been." Nader stopped walking. The water beneath his feet rippled hard, and he nearly fell. I am scared," he admitted quietly. "But I'm still walking." The reflection paused. It blinked, surprised, then vanished like mist. He kept going, now breathing steadily. But another figure rose from the water, a boy from his school, pointing and laughing. "You're the quiet one, the weird one. You don't belong anywhere." Nader flinched. The words cut deep. But he looked down, clenched his fists, and said, "Even if I don't belong to them, I belong to me." The boy disappeared. Finally, Nader reached the mirror at the center. It didn't show his face. It showed moments from his life. Times he was afraid to speak, times he stood up for someone, times he cried when no one saw, and times he smiled even when things were hard. Myra's voice echoed from the shore. "Speak your truth to the mirror." Nader looked straight into the glass. "I'm scared. I don't always believe in myself, but I want to be brave. I want to try. That's my truth." The mirror glowed gold. The platform shook, and slowly the lake parted, revealing a spiral staircase descending into light. Mira appeared beside him, nodding. "Well done. The lake showed you, and you didn't look away." Nader wiped a tear from his cheek. He hadn't even realized it was there. "What's next?" he asked. Mira stepped onto the staircase. "Now comes the forest where words lie and silence speaks." As the water closed. As Nader and Mira stepped out of the spiral staircase, the air grew thick and heavy with the scent of moss, rain, and old wood. They had entered a dense, shadowy place where every tree seemed to lean closer than it should, their branches arching like arms over a hidden world. This was the forest of secrets. The light dimmed. Even though it was day, only a pale green glow seeped through the treetops. The trees whispered constantly, but not with wind. They spoke in riddles. "He walks in fear, but claims its strength. His heart hides names he's never spoken. Truth wears masks in this place." Nader glanced at Mira. "They're talking." Myra's tail twitched. "Everything in this forest speaks, but not everything tells the truth." They followed a narrow path marked with strange symbols burned into the trunks of trees. Every few steps, voices whispered from the shadows, some familiar, others foreign. Then, a large tree with a hollow in its trunk suddenly blocked their way. From the hollow came a voice that sounded exactly like his grandfather's. "Turn back, Nader. This world isn't yours. Come home." Nader froze. That's him." Mira shook her head. "It's the forest. It uses voices you trust. It wants to see if you'll follow the sound or the truth. Another voice came from the other side of the path. This time it was his own, whispering, "You don't belong here. You'll mess it all up. You always do." Nader clenched his fists. "I don't know what's real anymore." Mira stepped closer and whispered, "In this forest, real isn't heard with ears. It's felt here." She tapped his chest with a paw. "Listen there." He took a breath, closed his eyes, and listened. The forest buzzed with voices, too many, too loud, but beneath them, faint and steady, he heard something else. A soft hum. A rhythm. A beat. His heartbeat. And beneath it, a trail of warmth. His instinct. He turned left, away from both voices, and stepped off the main path. At once, the trees stopped whispering. The forest stilled. Mira followed. "You heard it." He nodded. "I didn't need their words. I just knew where to go." They continued through the trees until they reached a clearing. In its center stood a tall, twisted tree with silver leaves. Hanging from its branches were glowing keys, each shaped differently. From the base of the tree, a wooden face emerged, an ancient forest spirit. It spoke in a slow, earthy voice. "One of these keys opens the next gate. The others open traps of illusion. You may ask one question. Choose wisely." Nader stepped closer. There were 7 keys. He looked at each one. Some looked shiny and beautiful, others rough and plain. He thought for a moment, then asked, "Which key is the one I wouldn't want to choose?" The spirit nodded. One of the keys, gleaming gold with diamonds, vanished. Nader smiled. "Then I choose the plain wooden one." He reached up, took it gently, and the tree bent its trunk toward the next path. One made of glowing roots and the trees of the forest of secrets slowly gave way to a wide open field, where tall yellow grass swayed under a pale orange sky. At the center of it stood a towering clock, leaning slightly to one side, its giant hands frozen at 11:11. The clock's gears creaked and groaned, but nothing moved. Nader tilted his head. "It's broken." Mira nodded. "This is the realm of time. But here, time doesn't flow like in your world. It twists, skips, stops, and sometimes repeats." As they approached the base of the tower, the wind grew stronger, and the world around them flickered. For a second, the sun shifted position, and Nader saw himself, standing in the same spot, looking just as confused. "What was that?" Mira narrowed her eyes. "A time echo. This place stores moments. It'll test whether you can move forward when the past begs you to stay." The tower's heavy doors opened slowly with a groan, revealing a spiral staircase lined with clocks of all shapes and sizes. Grandfather clocks, pocket watches, sand timers. All of them ticking wrong. Some too fast, some too slow. Some even ticking backward. As they climbed, Nader felt the air grow heavier. His thoughts grew jumbled. Was he remembering something, or dreaming it? Halfway up, a door appeared in the wall. On it, a glowing plaque read, "Choose the moment you fear most. Enter it. Fix it." Mira stopped. "Only you may go through." Nader looked at the door, then back at her. "What if I choose wrong?" "Then you stay stuck in that moment," Mira said. "But I believe you won't." He took a breath and opened the door, and found himself in his school hallway. Cold lockers. Bright lights. The bell had just rung. Kids were laughing, but not with him. At him. It was the day he was supposed to read his story aloud. The day he had panicked and run out of the room. He could hear it again, his teacher calling, the giggles, the tightening in his chest. And there he was. A younger version of himself, standing by the door, frozen in fear. Nader's heart pounded. This was it. The moment he always wanted to forget. He walked up to his younger self, knelt beside him, and whispered, "It's okay to be scared. But you wrote something you love. That's worth sharing. Even if your voice shakes." Young Nader turned to look at him. And then he smiled. Just a little. The lights flickered. The hallway faded. And when Nader opened his eyes, he was back in the tower, on the top floor. The giant clock gears turned slowly. Time had started moving again. Mira stood beside the main mechanism, her eyes glowing. "You didn't run." Nader wiped his eyes. "Not this time." She pointed to a small golden lever at the heart of the clock. "Pull it. The next realm only opens for those who move forward without regret." Nader stepped forward, grasped the lever, and pulled. With a deep, echoing sound, the clock tower shook. And a round portal appeared in the floor, shimmering like the surface of a pond. Through it, Nader could see silence. Nader landed gently, too gently, on soft, silvery ground. He stood, blinking at a wide, open landscape under a purple sky. Mountains floated in the distance, and giant glowing flowers pulsed with light, but there was no sound. Not the rustle of wind, not Myra's paw steps, not even his own breathing. He turned to Mira and tried to speak. "Where are we?" But nothing came out. His lips moved, no voice. Even Myra's mouth moved silently as she pointed to a large stone structure ahead, shaped like a giant ear made of crystal. A glowing message floated above the path. "In this realm, your voice is lost. Only what you do will be heard." Nader shivered. No voice? No words? How could he solve anything like this? Mira motioned for him to follow, and they walked silently toward the ear-shaped temple. On the way, they passed strange creatures, thin, shadowy beings with long arms and glowing eyes. They watched him, but did not move. At the temple's entrance, there were 3 stone doors. On each was a symbol: a hand holding a heart, a hand holding a key, a hand holding fire. In front of the doors, a glowing stone hovered with the words, "Choose what leads you forward, kindness, cleverness, or strength." Nader looked at Mira. She simply stared back, waiting. He stepped back, thinking. Strength? That was easy to admire, but it had never really been his way. Cleverness? He was smart, yes, but not always the quickest. But kindness, that felt honest. He placed his hand on the door with the heart, and it opened. Inside, he entered a long hall. Along the walls were broken instruments, shattered glass, and statues of people covering their ears. At the far end, a child sat alone, crying silently. Around him were strange shadow creatures, circling and looming. Nader rushed forward, but the creatures turned to him, eyes glowing. He couldn't shout, couldn't warn the child. But he remembered. Your actions will be heard. So he took a deep breath and stepped between the child and the shadows. The creatures hissed silently and closed in. Nader held out his arms. No fists, just a shield made of courage. He stood firm. He offered no attack, just protection. Suddenly, the silence broke, not with sound, but with light. A glowing warmth burst from the ground, spreading from his feet outward. The shadow creatures shrieked and melted into mist. The child stood, touched Nader's arm, and gave him a small glowing shell. The temple wall shimmered. A new message appeared. The silent world has heard you. Back outside, Mira nodded in approval. Even when no one hears your voice, your choices still speak loud. Nader looked at the glowing shell in his hand. What's this? Mira blinked slowly. A memory. One you'll need later. As they continued down the now glowing path, the air began to change. Sound returned, soft at first, then stronger. Birds sang. Wind rustled. And ahead lay a new realm. One drowned not in silence, but in ink. A city where words have power, and stories decide who stays and who vanishes. As Nader and Mira stepped into the new realm, a dense fog of thick, black ink swirled around their feet. The ground beneath was smooth and shiny, like wet paper. Tall buildings loomed overhead, their walls covered in swirling script and flowing letters, some bright, others dark as night. This was the city of dark ink, where stories weren't just told, they were written to shape reality. Myra's eyes narrowed. Here, words are power. Every tale written changes the city's fate. But beware, some stories trap souls forever. Nader looked around nervously. From the shadows, figures moved, people made of paper, their faces blank except for the words written on them. Ahead, a massive book lay open on a pedestal, its pages fluttering without wind. An old voice spoke from the pages. Welcome, traveler. To leave this place, you must rewrite a story and make it true. Mira explained. The city is ruled by the scribe, who controls fate by writing stories. The scribe has lost their way and trapped the city in a story of fear and silence. You must find the scribe and help them remember hope. Nader approached the book, feeling the weight of words swirling around him. Suddenly, a shadowy figure appeared, a tall person cloaked in swirling ink, their face hidden. I am the scribe, the figure said softly. I've forgotten how to write the story that frees us. Will you help me? Nader nodded, though his heart raced. The scribe handed him a quill that shimmered with silver light. Write the ending, the scribe whispered. Make it one of hope. Nader thought of all he had learned, courage and fear, truth and silence, kindness and darkness. He dipped the quill into the glowing ink and wrote, In this city, every heart shines brighter than the darkest night. Every voice is heard, and every soul is free. As he finished, the city began to glow. The ink lifted from the ground and walls, swirling into bright patterns that danced in the air. The paper people smiled, their blank faces filling with words of joy and hope. The scribe lowered their hood, revealing a kind face. Thank you, Nader. You have rewritten our fate. A golden key appeared on the pedestal. This will open the path to the next realm, said Mira. Nader took the key, feeling its warm pulse in his hand. As the city faded behind them, the sky above turned dark and starless. Ahead lay the islands of forgotten dreams, where memories drifted like lost ships. Nader and Mira stepped onto a shore where fog curled like silver ribbons over dark water. Before them lay a chain of islands floating gently in a vast, starless sea. Each island seemed to shimmer, glowing faintly with colors that shifted and changed, like memories caught in the mist. This, said Mira softly, are the islands of forgotten dreams. Lost hopes and wishes drift here, waiting to be remembered. Nader looked around, feeling a strange sadness. Why are they forgotten? Sometimes, Mira explained, dreams get lost when people stop believing in them. Here, they wait for someone brave enough to find them again. They boarded a small boat that appeared from the mist and set off across the calm water. As they passed each island, shapes took form, ghostly images of forgotten hopes, forgotten friends, forgotten games and stories. Suddenly, a whisper floated across the water. Remember me. Nader peered into the fog and saw a small glowing orb bobbing gently. He reached out, and as his hand touched it, a rush of warmth filled him. He saw a memory, a childhood promise he'd made to a friend long ago, a dream to be an explorer. He smiled. I remember now. The orb brightened and floated toward the sky, joining a constellation of shining lights. As they continued, Nader faced more memories, some happy, some sad, some painful. With Myra's help, he gathered each one, speaking the names and stories aloud so the dreams could be free again. One island was covered in dark clouds, heavier than the rest. Nader stepped onto it cautiously. There, he saw a shadowed figure, himself, but older, tired, and lost. "Why do you hide?" Nader asked softly. The shadow shook its head. "I gave up. I forgot how to dream." Nader knelt. "It's never too late to remember. Come back with me." The shadow reached out and vanished into a bright light. As dawn broke over the islands, the starless sky filled with countless glowing stars. Each one a dream remembered, a hope renewed. Mira smiled. "You brought light back to the forgotten." Nader felt lighter, stronger. "What's next?" "Next," said Mira, "you'll face the spirits who guard the past, the white ghosts of the valley." Beyond the islands, a pale mist curled between mountains like ancient breath. Nader and Mira stepped off the boat onto a cold, misty shore. Before them stretched a vast valley shrouded in swirling white fog. The air was thick with silence and memories. "This is the Valley of White Ghosts," Mira said quietly. "Spirits of the past wander here, carrying messages from those who came before." As they moved deeper, faint figures appeared, glowing shapes drifting like clouds of light. Some whispered softly, others reached out with gentle hands. Suddenly, a familiar face emerged from the mist. It was Nader's mother, glowing softly and smiling. "Nader," she said, "you have come far. But the final truths are still hidden." Tears welled in Nader's eyes. "Mom?" She nodded. "The shadows you face are not just around you, but inside you too. To move forward, you must accept all parts of yourself: fear, hope, love, and doubt." Nader took a deep breath and stepped closer. The valley shimmered with light and shadow, swirling together like a dance. Mira whispered, "Listen to her words. They will guide you." Nader felt warmth spread through him, filling the empty spaces. The valley's ghosts gathered, forming a circle around him, their voices rising in a gentle chorus. "Remember who you are, Nader. Remember where you come from." With newfound strength, Nader looked toward the valley's end, where a glowing door stood, framed by white light. Together, Nader and Mira walked through. On the other side, the sky darkened, and the air crackled with tension. Ahead lay a dark fortress, the place of the final challenge. Nader stood before the dark fortress, its towering walls etched with shadows that writhed and shifted like living smoke. The air crackled with a heavy energy, thick and uneasy. Myra's voice was steady but quiet. "This is the place where your journey began, and where it must end. But not all is as it seems." Nader tightened his grip on the glowing shell from the silent realm, and the golden key from the city of ink. The memories and lessons of the 7 realms pulsed within him. As he stepped forward, the shadows thickened, swirling faster until they formed a figure, a dark reflection of himself, eyes glowing red. "I am your shadow," it hissed. "The part you hide, the fears you deny." Nader squared his shoulders. "I'm not running anymore." The shadow laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the fortress halls. "Then face me." A fierce battle began, not of swords or magic, but of wills. Nader faced doubts, memories, and fears shaped into dark creatures that swirled around him. With every lesson he'd learned, courage from the whispering winds, truth from the lake of mirrors, kindness from the land without sound, he pushed the shadows back. Finally, he stood face to face with the shadow self. "You can't defeat me," it snarled. "I am part of you." Nader nodded. "Yes. And I accept you. You're not my enemy." The shadow hesitated, then slowly dissolved into a soft light that filled the fortress. The walls brightened, revealing a beautiful garden beyond the gates. Mira smiled. "You've crossed the final shadow. Now, only one key remains." Nader reached into his pocket, the golden key from the city of ink. and inserted it into a glowing lock on a garden gate. The gate swung open to reveal a warm, glowing light. Nader stepped forward, and everything around him shimmered and changed. Nader stepped through the glowing gate, and suddenly the world shifted. He found himself in a vast arena surrounded by swirling shadows and flickering lights. The air buzzed with tension as a deep voice echoed all around him. "Welcome, Nader. Your journey has been long, but the final test awaits." From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in darkness, its eyes glowing with a fierce red light. The Shadow King, the ruler of the Kingdom of Seven Shadows. His presence was overwhelming, casting a cold chill that made Nader's heart race. "I am the darkness you fear," the Shadow King said. "To leave this realm, you must face me and defeat the fear within." Nader felt his courage waver, but remembered all he had learned: the strength in kindness, the power of truth, and the bravery to face himself. The battle began, not with swords or magic, but a contest of wills and hearts. The Shadow King threw illusions and doubts at Nader, whispering fears and regrets. "You are weak. You will fail." But Nader stood firm, speaking words of hope and confidence, each one pushing back the shadows. "Fear will not control me. I am stronger than my doubts." Light burst from Nader's hands, growing brighter with every step forward. The Shadow King shrieked, the shadows breaking apart like shattered glass. With one final surge, Nader reached out and touched the Shadow King's heart. The darkness dissolved into a warm glow. The arena transformed into a peaceful garden, bathed in golden light. Mira appeared beside Nader, her eyes shining. "You have won, Nader. You have faced the final shadow and freed the kingdom." Nader smiled, feeling a calm strength he had never known before. A door appeared before him, glowing softly. "This is your way home," Mira said. "But remember, you carry this journey within you, always." Nader took a deep breath and stepped through the door. Nader stepped through the glowing door and found himself back in the old forest, where his adventure had begun. The sky was the same soft blue, and the familiar rustling of leaves surrounded him. Yet, something inside him had changed forever. In his hand, the golden key from the Kingdom of Seven Shadows shimmered warmly. As he walked toward home, the map in his backpack whispered softly, reminding him of the lessons he'd learned: the courage to face fears, the kindness to help others, and the strength to believe in himself. At the edge of the forest, Nader paused. Before him stood an ancient wooden chest, covered with the same Iron Star symbol he had seen on the box in his grandfather's library. He inserted the golden key into the lock. With a soft click, the chest opened. Inside, he found a small mirror, the very one from the Lake of Mirrors, along with a note in his grandfather's handwriting. "To the brave heart who journeys beyond the veil. Remember, the greatest adventure is the one within. Carry your light into the world." Nader smiled, holding the mirror close. From that day on, no matter where he went, he carried the Kingdom of Seven Shadows in his heart, a secret place of magic and courage, where every shadow could be faced and every dream could shine. The end.